Da, 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 da.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wolf King, and we're discussing the war on Christmas. Apparently, the Americans think, well, or at least the people in my country, I guess. A lot of them think that because, welcome, Hades, son of Kronos, my good friend that helped me inspire to make my show, the Wolf Den Radio Show. What's up, man? Anyway, so yeah, apparently because there's this thing called separation of church and state, American Christians feel like they're under persecution because they're forced to share the freedom and equality of everyone else to declare their own state of belief, whether it's religious or not. And just to set the basis, I'm gonna share a little clip right here, where apparently Bill O'Reilly, who's like the granddaddy behind this, I wouldn't say granddaddy, demagogue, great demagogue behind this this pseudo issue, and he brings on an agnostic researcher, I guess, who sort of gives her analyzation of why this is going on. Let's hear it real quick.
I cannot understand the right thing why anyone would bother trying to diminish the federal holiday.
I don't think anybody can hear that.
Yeah,
Shit. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Go to the control room and up your volume.
I also cannot hear it.
There is a I think you can turn it up manually.
Yeah, but he needs one of those. This one goes to 11.
You know what, Wolf? You can just sum it up if you like.
I can play it for you if you like, Nick. Wolf, sorry. I can play it if you like.
Hey, Wolf, do you have one of those? This one goes up to 11.
Yeah, we heard that the first time. Yeah, why don't you play it? That's a good idea.
Yeah, I need a link though, or yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, in this brief interlude, say Epicurus, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. How about yourself, Blues?
All right, I'm back.
All right.
And now I got that shit updated, so now it'll be better for everyone to hear. Now.
I can play it if you like it, Wolf.
Really? No, it's fine. I got it.
All right, yeah, cool.
Let's talk about some psychotherapist guy. That's because who is agnostic. I cannot understand the right me why anyone would bother trying to diminish the federal holiday Christmas out there. Why do they do it?
Here's why. When you feel like you are in the minority, you experience the desire to try and push, to sell your product, if you will, to sell your belief in a loud way to others in order to make yourself feel better, to validate your view, to make sure others hear you.
And basically, now for everyone who got that, it's basically from this straw man of I guess of atheists and secularists in general, because we're in the minority, we feel that we need to sell this, we need to make it appealing, so that's why we sort of bash the majority of religious people that celebrate this holiday. Now, first off, I wouldn't say it's that. I would say it's the fact that, being part of a secular nation, we have the freedom of religion, the freedom to state like what you want, not what you want, but what you believe on that personal level, just for the sake of freedom. But also that entails freedom from religion, meaning that I don't have to get a nativity scene in my face all the time, or like Christmas being about the birth of baby Jesus or anything like that. It's just the fact that, given the fact that we share the public sphere, it's for the sake of equality, not some one focus on one particular belief system.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Would like to add that I mean, it's fine to be outspoken and loud. I approve of atheists who do that, but that's not really what's at stake here. It's like Wolf said, it's the matter of law, what goes on in the public sphere and public areas. So it's not about rah-rah so much as it about being fair to everybody, equal justice under the law.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Ed, what do you think about this, man?
Well, as someone who's actually been wounded in the war on Christmas, I'm a disabled vet. What I find is really funny is that Bill O'Reilly came out the other day and actually said that he had personally single-handedly won the war on Christmas. So apparently the war is over and he won. And what I've noticed is that it's remarkably easy to win wars that don't actually exist.
Well, you got that right.
Did he hang the Mission Accomplished banner up as well?
He should.
Oh, well, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's
too.
good.
Since Bill O'Reilly's the only one who knows where the battlefield is, it's pretty easy to win the fight.
Well, yeah, the battlefield is in his mind. But he's not alone. I mean, this is, as was said, an extremely common theme among the Christian right in the United States, and it's all quite silly. We just had a thing here in Grand Rapids just a couple days ago where there was a flash mob at a mall in Grand Rapids that suddenly burst out into singing Amazing Grace. And Ray Comfort just thinks this is the greatest thing ever. And weirdly, he thinks it has something to do with separation of church and state. But the mall is private property. So these are not people who have much of an ability to think coherently on this or any other subject.
Yeah, besides, isn't a lot of this about... One thing I really hate is people frame this as a way of being PC about shit. And I'm not sure about you guys, but when did being PC just mean not being an asshole?
I think that's what it's always meant.
Yes, I was about to say, I've now gone through nearly 30 years of hearing that vaguely stupid, vaguely indefinable term, the essence of vagueness. And yes, what it kind of meant was, back in the day when it first came out, was these young undergraduate women who hadn't done anything, you know, telling everybody how to behave. But at the same time, I mean, those ideas did change attitudes and did change language, because I don't say the N-word no more. I don't say the R-word no more. I don't say the F-word no more. Well, I say fuck, but not the other F-word. And I think that although being PC and no one wants to be told by a young, spoiled girl who doesn't know anything how to behave, I do think there was a change in language because of those people.
What the fuck? Where the fuck did the young undergraduate girls come from?
Yeah, I have no idea.
What did that have to do with anything that was just said?
I'm talking about back in the day when we first heard that word. That's kind of what it was associated with. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean,
I think what he's trying to say is the feminist movement kind of brought that term into existence, which I guess could be argued.
Actually, the term was created by someone who was against it. And I had the weird experience of asking...
That's what he was talking about.
I had the weird experience of asking Dinesh D'Souza, who was the first person I knew that used that term, if he had in fact invented it, and he said no. And he mentioned somebody else, I don't remember the guy's name, but said that was the person who invented it, but he used it in his book, Illiberal Education, back in the 90s. And the weird thing about that experience was that I asked him that while we were both taking a piss at urinals. And I somehow managed not to turn around and piss on his pants and his shoes.
I just want to play the second part of this clip, which sort of demonstrates further strawmen from like the political right on this. Let's see.
Your theory is that atheists don't feel very good about themselves because they don't believe in the deity?
Well, no. Not all atheists are as lefty what's happening here. Some atheists have a true belief that there is no God, and they feel very comfortable with that. But there are others who have a very uncomfortable belief about it. They feel the need to push others down, and that's the group that you're seeing here. A group of people all coming together in a gang-like format in order to push other people down. But not all atheists are like that.
Why would they say, you know what, this isn't classy, it's not a nice thing to do. Our Christmas traditions, children love them, families get together, gifts are exchanged, it's a season of generosity and goodwill toward men. It almost seems sadistic that you would try to hammer down something like that.
Isn't that so sad?
And I feel like that just is delicious, truly. I mean, it would almost be completely delectable if it wasn't so full of shit.
Yeah.
First off, atheism, not a belief, non-belief. Second, it's not that people are trying to hammer a person down in a gang-like fashion, because I mean that's clearly nonsense. I mean it's really just a matter of probably, putting up a few billboards, having like the concept of free speech not minimized or basically focused on one group of people. And like I said, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Therefore, we all have the equality to express our views, regardless of whether or not it's in the view of Christmas or human light or whatever holiday or winter solstice or whatever thing you want to actually say to it. Whether it's Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas, that it's complete. It's just like a persecution complex that doesn't really. It's unneeded. It's undeserved. It's ridiculous.
Well,
it's all projection anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, one has to also factor in that do these groups actually call themselves atheist groups? Isn't it something along the lines of secular humanism? Or
yeah.
What groups are we talking about?
Well, I mean, it's sort of like we're herd of cats. We're a herd of cats. You got your Dan Silverman. You got your other atheists like Penn Jillette. They all have different views, not necessarily whether.
And there are lots of local groups that take action. I would like to know specifically what groups too, though.
Yeah.
Well, usually Bill O'Reilly is talking about the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Yeah.
Usually when he's going on his tirade, that's who he's talking about.
Or American Atheists, because he's had them on his show many times.
Or them too.
We'll do it live.
That was a good one. Good one.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
do the fucking one, that's funny.
I could listen to that for hours, man.
Fucking thing sucks!
Oh, Bill.
I had oral sex with my father. It lasted about 2 minutes. I thought it was sex with a toothbrush.
What?
Oh my god, that is so fucking awesome.
Oh man, I've heard the same thing from Glenn Beck. Sorry, I turned my mic down. I heard the same thing from Glenn Beck as well. The whole war on Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that whole "if you disagree with me, you're persecuting me" thing.
Also, the curious.
Yeah, well, Glenn Beck
forgive me. The curious subtext I hear in all this stuff about atheism and the war on Christmas and this and that is this idea that no atheist is allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to be angry. And or at least that's how it feels to me. And if sometimes atheists are angry, well, maybe they're angry about something and it doesn't matter what time of year it is.
Well, I don't even think it matters whether you're angry. If you're completely calm and completely thoughtful in what you express, the people who think there's a war on Christmas will claim that you're being angry anyway.
Well, and some of the stuff.
Well, that's something I get angry about.
Fair enough.
And they they don't want to celebrate Christmas. I want to celebrate Christmas, and I'm an atheist. I enjoy giving gifts and turkey.
The thing is, though, a lot of atheists are culturally Christian, and culturally in the sense that how you might be Jewish by background and might not do anything Jewish. You don't go to synagogue, you eat pork, all that. Atheists, more or less, who grew up in that Christian background environment perpetuate the same cultural and social behaviors as other people in that society who are Christians do, are more or less, in a sense, culturally Christian.
Oh,
yeah,
praise
I wouldn't
Jesus.
use that phrase. I think it would be more accurate to say that we have been raised in a culture that has been strongly influenced by Christianity, in the sense that the holidays and such tend to derive from that.
Fair enough.
Because
a different way of saying the same
so
thing.
corporate now, it's not really a religious holiday anymore.
Yeah, and,
so
and, more,
corporate
and more importantly, what we're dealing with. See, that there's a lot of distinct knowledge within this very subject, because not only has there been a recent secularization that has occurred in the last few recent decades, there's also been the fact that, you know, I mean, when you look at Christmas and you analyze it just like as a holiday, just based on the history, it's a pagan holiday. I mean, Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. The winters are too cold. It was most likely he was born in, like, I don't know, like July or something, for all we know. I mean, who freaking? And I mean, like you got some giant fat dude with a freaking beard representing I don't know, Father Christmas or something, like Christmas Kringle or some other nonsense.
Just to stop you, I think it would be inappropriate to say that Christmas was a pagan holiday. There was no one kind of pagan holiday that was something else like Yule and then became Christmas. There are various holidays that pagans celebrated around this time because, frankly, if you're in Europe and it's around this time, everything's getting dark, there's shitty weather, you need something to celebrate. So various groups had their own kind of tradition, custom, and background. And of course, the Christians, as they were coming into that society, made their own kind of holiday, designated it to be something, and appropriated the various customs that their pagan neighbors did into it. It's not.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, but wouldn't you consider them to be, like, you know, related within Christianity in that? I mean, like that tree, for example, like the Christmas tree. I mean, that's not found anywhere in Christianity. I mean, that's like a pagan concept that was borrowed.
It was borrowed, but it was still appropriated in a sense. For example, when I was growing up, I was told that we put up the Christmas tree because the cedar tree always lasted and would not die in this season, just like how Christ is still alive right now. Now, of course, this was a pagan. Of course, we could easily point to the fact that pre-Christian groups used it at the time, but when you appropriate symbols and imagery, you endow it with your own meaning and your own context to it. So appropriation is never just like theft. It's not like stealing a car. You kind of take it and give it your own kind of meaning and symbolism in the context of the tradition you worship in it.
Well, I wouldn't call it stealing. I mean, like, that's clearly nonsense. We're talking about cultural heritage. I mean, and you were even honest enough to say that, yeah, I mean, sure, we're sort of analogous to secular Jews, probably, even though we don't even refer to ourselves in that sense. But I mean, yeah, that's sort of how it works. You know, you take influences from bits and pieces of different parts of places and people, and that sort of like sets the basis for why you do things and have these behaviors in the here and now. I mean, that's sort of what we do, and sort of the capacity that we have as human beings. However, that's the point. You know, I mean, as a society changes and develops over time, you know, there are certain let's see, things that just come about as a result. You know, such as, you know, the more secularization you see within America, the more people want to be recognized. So such a thing like with this whole Christmas thing, you know, honestly, it's fine if people want to like focus on like their little birth in the baby Jesus and everything. If they want to believe that sort of thing, whatever, it's fine. It's just that I don't have to see that, like, you know, in the public sphere unless my ideas are totally represented as well. You know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's exactly what the First Amendment is. It's not like religion should be kicked out of the public square. It just means if we have one religion public square, we have to represent all the religions that are recognized in the public square as well, be it Christianity, Judaism, or maybe a more secular, or even a secular humanist position.
But there's the catch-22 to that, Epi, that basically has to be taken into account. You can't give one precedence over the other.
Yeah.
That's something that has to be taken into account. And you're saying this as a Canadian. You don't deal with what's going on in the U.S. itself on a personal level.
In Canada, we tend to represent pretty much all the communities generally the same, depending on where we're at.
And part of the problem, I think, is that phrase, the public square. The Christian right tends to use that as this very broad phrase, and it's intended to obscure. So instead of saying on government property, they say in the public square, because what they want their followers to hear when they hear that statement is that people are trying to ban the expression of religion in public, rather than saying it's not appropriate on public property, or that if you're going to do it on government or public property, you can't say we're only going to let Christians do it. You can't have exclusive access. That's a term that I hear the Christian right use all the time, and it's used very intentionally to obscure reality and sow paranoia among their followers.
Right.
That's interesting. I just use public square and government property as interchange. I personally don't mean anything malicious by it, but I think it's just caught on so popularly that people on pretty much any side of the aisle are using it in that sense.
Right. Well, it's a term that can have a narrow or a broad meaning. They use it to describe something that's narrow, knowing that their followers are going to hear it as something much more broad.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I mean, honestly, whenever I use the term public sphere, public square, or whatever, I mean, I'm usually talking about like the society that which, you know, all people are part of, and you know, therefore the ideas that we talk about have an influence on us. You know, that's why. I mean, that's why I'm talking about, you know, having those fair representation of ideas, like, you know, equal distribution of those of said things. But let's get some voices that haven't talked currently. Let's see. I'm hearing some background. Jesus is God. You want to say something from your perspective? Hello.
He's just here with the NSA. He's just tracking us.
All right, Kurt.
Oh, nothing. I did want to make one point. I'm just going to kick Epi's ass later because he's a Canadian trying to lecture me on the U.S. Constitution.
Why can't
I be kicking at Epi for the next stuff you on that one? Him basically trying to lecture me on the Constitution.
Why can't I?
The Canadian basically tries to lecture on our own government.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Come on.
I know. I'm with you.
I know. Actually, I've always said this, and believe it or not, other Canadians are like, why? And sometimes Americans are like, why? But I actually would not mind being an American citizen. The history is fairly interesting, and most people already discuss American politics up here in Canada, so there's not much of a change, and I can pretty much provide for my own medical care. So
that would be awesome if you got dual citizenship.
That would. I actually already have dual citizenship, but Canada and Lebanon. If I move to the States, I might have to give one of those up, but I'd honestly think
Canada's basically America Light. Got less calories than.
It's the I can't believe
You're the Diet Cola. You're the Diet Coca-Cola of North America.
That's true. Although, in all fairness, it's kind of boring living up here in a place with a lot of darkness and no guns.
I live in Alberta, so there's plenty of guns here.
Oh, I don't even live in Alberta, which is pretty much Canada's Texas.
Yes, it is.
By the way, Canada's Texas is pretty much the equivalent of America's California.
Hey, how's French Canada? Is that good?
Oh, c'est bien, monsieur.
The poutine is good.
Poutine.
Les femmes très extraordinaires. The women are very extraordinary too.
I'll show off.
Yeah, I'm going to speak American from now on. But in Canada, we also don't get it. Although the war on Christmas, funny enough, in Canada has seeped in from the American borders, all from Bill O'Reilly's mind, because there are people who talk about this shit up here like it was the United States. For example,
well, especially now that we have Sun News. I've watched Sun News, and they talk about it all the time. I never really saw it on the news before Sun News came out, and then now you're seeing it, like, the war on Christmas.
Let me tell you a story. Last Christmas in December, I was saying interchangeably Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas, whatever came to mind when I was interacting with the customer. I didn't even think about it. On one occasion, when I said Merry Christmas, someone actually said, it would be better for business if you... it would just be better for business if you just said Happy Holidays. That way you could be more inclusive. My response was, look, I'm not getting any complaints. It's no big deal, and I could always change it. And when I said Happy Holidays another time, someone said, you shouldn't really try to be so PC about it. People might complain. I'm like, can't I do anything right without someone bitching at me? Or without people needing to worry about someone bitching at me?
But that's also Canada, right? We're so bloody worried about offending people that we worry too much about offending people.
Yeah, but it's even more that way in America, where there's these really strong cultural divides, and everybody thinks they're at war with everybody. And I just don't understand why anybody would be the least bit bothered by any of those things. If somebody wishes me a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, joyous Kwanzaa, I don't give a shit. They're wishing me good things. They're accept it. Say thank you. There's no reason to be so reactionary about this.
But it's always people being offended on behalf of other people, though. It's never like someone who is offended. They're always someone who is like, oh, someone else might be offended. Well, are you offended? No. Well, I haven't met anyone who's offended, so shut up.
Well, but I'm sure there are people who are genuinely offended. I just don't understand why they are. Makes no sense to me.
Honestly, the whole thing is subjective. I mean, it doesn't reflect the larger... it's just a ridiculous talking point. It doesn't exist. It's like the war on drugs. It's like it's almost non-existent. I mean, like there's no persecution.
You guys think about the 5...
What
do you guys think about the 5-4 ruling in the Supreme Court
on what
prayer this year?
Which one?
Yeah,
where it said that they can open with prayer in official meetings.
Actually, that ruling actually initially came down back in 1983.
So they can start with legislative prayer.
Yeah, that actually was a ruling in 1983 called Marsh versus Chambers. The new ruling was just applied that to the local level, which everybody knew was already the case. I'm not sure why that ruling surprised anyone at all.
Yeah, and more importantly, the fact remains the same. I mean, technically, I remember hearing a story about a pagan actually praying at one of those meetings. So that's the point. It's all about equality. We have freedom of religion and also freedom from religion. That's the way equality works.
Mm-hmm. If they want to have a prayer, as long as they don't care what kind of prayer it is.
Yeah. Hell, instead of prayer, it could just be reason.
Well, there's now a big campaign. One of the reactions to that ruling was that the American Humanist Association, Freedom from Religion Foundation, and the Center for Inquiry all started urging their members to sign up to deliver those invocations and deliver a humanist one. And that's now happening all over the country. Some of them are very good. Some of them are pretty bad. There was one a couple of weeks ago down in Florida where like half the city council or county commission got up and walked out before it. But I was pretty disappointed when I heard the guy's invocation. It was really stupid and juvenile. But I think it can be done very well as well, and it has been in a lot of places.
It's always Florida.
Oh yeah, and speaking of humanism, it's actually human light tonight. I'm gonna light some candles and shit. Celebrate the bright potential if we don't fuck it up. Yeah.
It's also a Festivus, so we should be airing grievances and performing feats of strength.
And I would feats of strength all over y'all, except that he could crush me. Yeah. Although, out of curiosity, is there anyone here who isn't celebrating Christmas this year? Or is celebrating another holiday?
I don't really celebrate Christmas at all, really.
Okay.
I'm doing Christmas with an Episcopalian family, so.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
Yeah, I do secular Christmas.
You mean
I like
Christmas and human light.
Technically religious, but most people are either non-religious or, kind of iffy on it.
I got Christmas with the Catholic family tomorrow, or 2 days from now.
Well, if you'll be celebrating the Mass part of Christmas, that's gonna be good.
Maybe not.
The only Mass part of my Christmas will be the mass amounts of food.
That's
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally really happy to be back home. I've been away to university for the last 3.5 months, and it's gonna be nice to be able to catch up with my family.
Family
Also,
really is the best part of this holiday.
Yeah, that and the swag presents you get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't really get swag presents anymore.
Jesus is the best thing about this holiday.
Yeah.
Without Jesus, this wouldn't even be a holiday.
Okay, well, then feel free to celebrate that.
It was a holiday
Some
before
of us
Jesus.
aren't going to celebrate that. We're just going to be with our family and have a good time and eat good food and give presents to people that we care about.
I'm fairly confident as a person who lives in a horribly cold environment that there would be some kind of holiday at this time of year regardless.
And I'm also, yep. I'm personally going to Mass myself. I love Christmas Mass. It's always one of the things of Christmas I look forward to myself.
See, I grew up Mormon, so the last thing you look forward to is going to church during the Christmas season, because it's already boring enough as a Mormon church.
Although, if you are a Mormon, I would suggest going to Utah, because the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, phenomenal. One of the best choirs I've ever listened to. Their rendition of "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" is extraordinary, and I cannot believe it's made of a group of volunteers.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely say, even if I'm not religious, I like a lot of the religious-themed Christmas music around this time of the year.
I'm a Muppets Christmas music fan myself.
I'm a Christmas music hater. I'm so burned out on Christmas music that.
Oh, same man. Wow.
Generic Christmas music.
Every time you turn on the radio.
Same. The generic stuff sets me
off.
But
the Mormon Tabernacle Choir is going to be, amazing to listen to. Although the Muslim Tabernacle Choir is even better.
That sounds like the Schwarzenegger Tabernacle Choir.
I'd pay money for a Schwarzenegger Christmas album.
I know it's not Schwarzenegger, but one of my Christmas traditions is watching Die Hard once on Christmas.
Yeah, I watched that a couple days ago with a couple friends.
Yes, I started doing that a couple years ago. That is my Christmas tradition too, watching Die Hard.
But Epi, Die Hard 5 will be even better.
Oh, fuck you.
No, that is one. No, I want to run into that one.
No sequels. Fuck the sequels. Fuck them all. Even though
I disagree. The third one was pretty awesome because it did have Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, come on. That's a sellout, though. It's still a bit of it.
Die Hard 5 will have Tommy Morrison in it, so you'll love it.
No, they already had a Die Hard 5. It sucked. He went to Russia and fought crime with his son. It was spectacularly stupid.
No one needs to know about John McClane's kids.
I like how they kind of went, hey, that thing with Indiana Jones worked really well. Let's do that in Die Hard.
Oh yeah, that was patently ridiculous.
I was just. What is?
So if someone does something they don't believe in, and they usually tell someone not to do it, and then they do it, what does that make them?
What?
Who's telling who not to do something?
Okay, I said so. If someone doesn't believe in something, and then they tell you they don't believe in Christ, for example, yet they'll celebrate that holiday, doesn't that make them a hypocrite?
Not really, because
I wouldn't
no
say
one's saying
I wouldn't
anything
say
about-
so because I mean here's the thing. For one, like I said, I honestly believe that that Christmas is actually based on like a pagan holiday. It's not necessarily accurate within reality. I mean, there's no way an infant could be born in such a harsh winter. I mean, he wasn't literally born on December 25th. So, the concept and also the concept is inherently human. The concept of celebrating, having celebrations during the winter solstice. I mean, no particular group has a monopoly on this idea. Hell, I mean, we even have secular groups that have actually have like holidays around this time of year. So I mean, that being said, I mean it's really, like I said, it's you have freedom of religion and freedom from religion. You can basically participate or do what you feel is will make you happy with your friends and family. The boundaries of reason. Honestly, I wouldn't say I'm inconsistent. I would say that I'm just doing my thing.
Here's an interesting bit of historical trivia. The real war on Christmas in this country took place back in the 1640s and 1650s, and when the Puritan Plymouth Bay colony made it illegal to celebrate Christmas, and they did it for precisely that reason. They argued that Christmas was a pagan holiday, and that Christians should not celebrate it for that reason. And there are still Christian groups today that take that position.
Jehovah's Witnesses, for one.
Well, they're anti every holiday, though. So.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what
they really,
like,
although the Jehovah's Witnesses really hate Halloween because they hate it when strangers knock on their door. Most atheist groups aren't usually telling Christian groups not to celebrate Christmas. They're just asking, don't set up Christian-related things on government property without equal representation of all groups. Right. Yeah, that's basically the only thing.
Not to mention, like I said earlier, Christmas is so corporatized and secularized, you can easily celebrate the holiday without ever including the baby Jesus.
Exactly. Here's a theory that I have about why they insist. I mean, look, there are thousands and thousands of churches in this country. They could certainly put up a nativity scene on every single one of them, and no one would say a word about it. But there's a reason, I think, why they insist on putting it on government and public property. And I think it's because they're essentially pissing on their territory. They insist on that because they're saying it's an assertion of Christian privilege. This is our country, not yours.
And that's the whole point of why we actually make a fuss around this time of year, because it's not just
do that. You tend to speak for all Christendom, and I think that's fallacious.
Sorry, what was that?
You can't speak for all Christendom or all public officials and say, well, they're peeing on their territory. I mean, sir, with all due respect, I think people have different agendas.
I think that's the root
some may just love
the rest of them are pretextual.
To represent they love.
But they can put it at their church. They can put it on their private property. Why do they insist on having it on public property?
Because they're going to die.
Why is it important to them to put it on public property?
They're going to die if they don't.
Just let me throw this.
They're public servants and they work in that facility.
So what?
Yeah, but okay.
They don't insist.
The earlier comment that you mentioned. Hold on, Ed. The earlier comment that you mentioned that it's fallacious to stereotype all these Christians. That's sort of how secularists feel when we hear this nonsense from Bill O'Reilly and saying that we're coming in a gang-like fashion to be more inclusive of different worldviews. I mean, that's not. I wouldn't necessarily in the sense of just like demanding more equality for different views. I mean, this is not just one person's country. This is everyone's country. Everyone who lives here. Equality.
And I don't think that the argument that, well, they do it because they work for the government and therefore they demand that the government, celebrate it on there. You don't see people demanding that the corporations they work for do that. So I think that's sort of an ad hoc explanation that doesn't reflect reality. And I'm not speaking for all Christians. There's lots and lots of Christians who don't think that nativity scenes and public displays like that should be on government property.
Like Epi, for instance.
Well, like the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, whose leader is a Church of Christ minister.
Mm.
So there's lots of those.
Mm. Well, I mean, just looking at it from a Brit, it's not that bad over here with what you guys are talking about. Over here, I've never actually seen a nativity scene or anything like that, but yeah. So I'm kind of lucky in that sense. But yeah, I do think it's kind of I think it's kind of funny. I heard that watched this video and apparently they put up some kind of Satanist type of thing right next to a nativity scene, and Glenn Beck was talking about it, and it's just kind of ironic to see him get so mad at people putting up stuff like that when he condones and thinks it's acceptable to put up stuff like that and more.
And by the way, that Satanist display at the state capitol in Florida has already been vandalized, which is true almost always when you wow. When you put up any sort of a billboard, when American Atheists and other groups put up billboards, they almost always get vandalized almost immediately.
But we're the ones against freedoms of speech.
Right, and again, I think the reason for that is because they think that's impinging on their turf. We own this country. It's an assertion of Christian privilege.
Yeah. I agree, man. Yeah.
Well, especially in a society where they're starting to feel threatened.
Oh no! This is my view of the whole kind of Bill O'Reilly and these types of sort of right-winged. Don't know if you'd call it that. News shows or radio shows or media. I think it's just a way to make to sort of make up some kind of thing just so they have some news to talk about, Yeah, I can't believe you actually say that this tiny minority is like a war even. I don't know. That's just how I see it.
I wonder how much of it is that he's expected to at this point. Like, that people look to him to start this fight every year at around this time, that Bill O'Reilly is supposed to come out and go, war on Christmas.
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, I mean, how many people actually celebrate Christmas in the United States? Almost 100%. I mean, and 30% of the population is non-religious. I mean, there's no war on Christmas. It's the fact that, given that you've got a society filled with technological advances and social enlightenments, that they seek to move it in a different way, to have more different views included for the sake of democracy. I mean, that's an important principle within our society that we're actually building upon. That's important. I mean, I would want that over private prejudice, because I mean, to do that would be that would be theocratic in and of itself. That would not be equal for all people. That would just be just a biased agenda.
Let me respond to something. Let me respond to something Jesus' God just said in the text there. He said, I don't support nativity scenes, but they have their right. Well, there's a distinction being missed there. The government doesn't have a right to put those up, to put up nativity scenes, because that's the government endorsing Christianity when they do that. Private groups and individuals in the community have a right to ask the government if they can put something up on public property. But if they do, if the government, if the city council or the county courthouse or whatever, if whatever level of government we're talking about, if they say, yes, we will allow you to put that up, then by law they have created what's called a limited public forum. And now they can't discriminate against other groups who also want to put something up. And so that's when once you open that forum, now you can't have what they call viewpoint or content discrimination. And the problem, the thing that atheists and civil libertarians complain about here, is not allowing groups to put up such displays on public property. It's allowing one group to have exclusive access to put something up on private property.
Exactly.
That's where the problem comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Or when one group gets subsidies while the others don't.
Right. They have to be treated equally across the board once you've opened that forum.
Yeah, I mean, I strongly doubt they're going to put up Muslim type of stuff. Yeah.
Well, in fact, there's another one of the ironies here is that when a Christian group does something like that, then, well, that's just religious freedom. If a Muslim group tries to do the exact same thing, oh my God, terrorists, kill them all, get rid of them. They'll be chased right out of the community.
Yeah.
And we see that not just with holiday displays, but we see it in a whole range, like, for example, zoning laws. There's a law in this country called RLUIPA, the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, that allows religious groups to demand an exemption from zoning laws to put up their buildings. And we've had now hundreds and hundreds of cases like this around the country. Christian groups use it all the time. They want to open up a church in an area that's zoned industrial or residential, and they go to court and ask for an exemption from that law. The minute a Muslim group does the same thing, the same people who demand that Christians be given exemptions to those absolutely lose their fucking minds over it. And there was a case just last week that settled in New Jersey where a Muslim group that already had a mosque in this city, they've been growing, they needed a bigger building, they purchased a piece of property to put up a larger mosque on it, and the city council, the zoning commission, immediately changed the zoning to forbid that from happening. They went to court over it and ended up settling it just last week, and the city had to pay all the legal fees of the Muslim group, which is what happens when you sue the government. And we're talking now almost $8 million. Now, of course, the Christian right is losing their minds over this when it's doing the exact same things that they cheer on when a Christian group does. Again, usually when they talk about religious liberty, what they really mean is Christian privilege.
Yeah.
Because they refuse to apply that same premise, their exact reasoning, to any group but Christians.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's kind of like that school a little while ago where the Muslims said, well, could you put one of our holidays on your holiday calendar?
Right.
And in response, they went, no holidays at all. No, we're going to take all the holidays off the calendar. It's like, okay. I guess that is equality. I mean, that's equality, yay for them, I guess. But
well, we've also seen it with the Gideons handing out Bibles, and a couple times down in Florida recently where atheist groups and Satanist groups said, okay, well, we want to distribute some of our literature too. And the school had to. They didn't have any choice. But now that they've done it, they're thinking about just rescinding it all and saying, okay, nobody can hand out books, which is fine. That's what it should be. You shouldn't be letting outside groups come in there and hand out books of any type.
But it's a stupid way to get to that point.
Right, but that's why you push for it, for equal access, is because it leads to that result. We've also seen it in situations with some school districts have something they call backpack mail, where they allow outside groups to come in and hand out flyers to the teachers, and then the teachers hand them out to the students, and the students take them home to their parents for things like, Boy Scout, Scout camps. Well, a lot of churches do this, and at the end of the year, they'll send in flyers for vacation Bible schools, and nobody really blinks at that. There have been a couple of situations, one in Virginia, one in South Carolina over the last few years, where Camp Quest, atheist summer camps, come in and say, okay, we want to use that as well. And then all of a sudden it's, wait a minute, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can. Once you've opened up that forum, once you've said we let outside groups do this, you can't say, but we're not going to let atheist groups do it because we don't approve of atheism. And so, at least in one case, they ended up just ending backpack mail entirely as soon as an atheist group wanted to use the same sort of way to express, an avenue of expression that Christians think is perfectly normal when they do it.
Yep.
Yeah, and no matter what, that's really just the end all goal behind our efforts, which is just to maintain the promise the Constitution entails, and just either we all get equal access to the public sphere, or just don't even mention it at all. Just keep it a personal thing, like it should be. Religion might have its place in society, but so does politics, so does law, so does every other important subject that helps develop open society.
Yeah. I'm interested. Would you guys kind of be all right if it didn't have anything that was sort of related to Christianity, like just like Christmas trees and stuff like that?
There's actually there's two big Supreme Court rulings on this in the United States over nativity scenes, and they both come from the mid-'80s, 1985 and 1987. And basically what the Supreme Court said was, nativity scenes are okay as long as you throw enough symbols around that aren't explicitly religious to sort of water down the religious message. So you throw some reindeer around and some candy canes and that sort of thing, then we'll let it go because we've diluted the religious endorsement enough. They're really bad rulings because they're obviously completely subjective.
Very sneaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very good at that sneaky stuff.
Well, it's just they're very bad rulings and they stem mostly from Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who was famously referred to as the split the baby justice. It's sort of an old legal joke that what do you do with a custody case? Well, just split the baby in half and give half of it to the father and half to the mother. She loved those kinds of rulings. Instead of saying, here's a clear rule on what you can and can't do, she always tried to find some really technical, weird way to reach a compromise on it. And the result is a big mess. As if you're a county courthouse or city council or whatever, and you're trying to figure out what you can and can't do, those kinds of rulings don't give you a lot to go on because they're so vague and subjective.
Yeah, and honestly, we're fine. I'm fine with the fact that Christmas has developed the way it is. I mean, that's just, like I said, that's just the result of that's just a result of cultural evolution, if you will, in that it sort of takes different bits and pieces of different aspects, because it's just sort of it's sort of that descendant of all those different influences, pagan and early Greek and various other focuses on that particular tradition. Just form of what it is now. It's honestly fun, because different holidays will come about, as time spreads on, and that's fine. It's just that if we're going to talk about these ideas, we have to be fair, we have to be honest, and allow other groups. If we're going to make a big fuss about freedom and religious liberty, we have to let and include other different worldviews to have that same view. Otherwise, we should just keep this on personal level. That either way, it's all about democracy.
And I think as well, like with Christian over here, and maybe I don't know if Rodney would agree with me on this. Quite a lot of it has got absolutely nothing to do with Jesus or anything like that. Like, I don't know if you'd agree with me on that, Rodney, but at least in my experience, although anecdotal, it's got absolutely nothing to do with Jesus. I mean, Jesus' name isn't even mentioned. It's about just bringing family together and celebrating and just presents and food and just shit like that basically. And would you agree with that, Rod?
Oh yeah, definitely. No one mentions, Christmas is just, like Hayes was saying, it's just a time where families get together, we have turkeys, no one mentions Jesus or anything like that. I mean, it is widely gone over, but it's like it's gone over in schools. So the school children will be doing nativity plays and learning about this, that, and the other. They'll be coming back with Bibles and whatnot, but no one really takes any of that very. We take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, and it's the season itself and the celebration is we have a tree. There's you just don't hear anything about Christianity. Well, we have. We call it midnight mass, and pretty much everyone goes to that. And it's more of a cultural thing. They all go to church and sing a few hymns and whatnot. At midnight, drunk, and go home, and it's just cultural. It's a bit of a laugh, It's it's a community thing.
I agree with you, Ron, on the whole money-making thing. Like, I just think it's completely to do with money. I mean, a lot. I mean, for instance, shopping centres start sort of advertising stuff to do with Christmas, way before Christmas.
Well, I was saying this of my friend this year that the corporation of Christmas is complete when there's 2 Santas in one mall. By the way, I live in Edmonton, and we have the biggest mall in North America. And there's a Santa at one end of the mall, and then close to the other end of the mall, there's a private Santa that you can't see from outside, but he's there if you're an adult. But yeah, there's 2 separate Santas in one mall.
Wow.
And I'm like, there are kids that are going to put this together. It's like, wait, there's a Santa here, and there's a Santa over there.
By the way, did you guys see the city councilman in Springfield, Massachusetts? Here a week or so ago, they had a public ceremony to celebrate the beginning of Hanukkah, and they put in this big menorah there, and one of the city councilmen got up there to talk and said, "Never forget, Jesus is the reason for the season." At a Hanukkah event.
Yeah, so with what the Jesus guy was saying earlier about how it's kind of hypocritical, I don't see how it would be, because you're not celebrating Christmas because of Jesus, and you can Jesus is or that whole kind of thing is completely irrelevant to Christmas. It's not. I wouldn't say it's mutually exclusive. So I think it's the same with quite a lot of the major celebrations like Easter, Halloween, stuff like this. I don't really celebrate those types of stuff, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, I can definitely see, how you can celebrate them without linking it to Christianity or anything like that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
not believing in Jesus is a silly reason to ostracize myself from the rest of my family on a holiday like that.
Yeah, well, most of these celebrations were about long before Christianity, and they've been sort of subsumed into some sort of, Christian church type denominations. Some of them have realised that and are totally against it. But for most of us, at least in England, we sort of take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. We celebrate Halloween because it's all cultural. They're all cultural holidays. They're an excuse to do things with the family and not hide away watching different things.
Get drunk.
Get drunk.
Exactly. Adults need reasons to get drunk.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the important thing about the holidays, the real reason for the season, I guess, from a secular point of view, is that it all stems from just human relations with each other, and just sharing the having that important sense for honestly, from my view, reason, compassion, hope, and humanity, and just having that sense of togetherness during that time. But that's just what I think. But I'm gonna take this off. So this has been Wolf King and basically Atheism, talk about the war on Christmas. Thank you all for coming. You can stay in the Hangout, but I'm going off. Later, guys.
Fuck it!